Dr. Berger, you were quoted in one publication this morning saying clearly, once again, Zuma has not learnt from the previous two mistakes in appointing civilians and politicians to head the police service. Firstly, let me ask you about what you think the criteria for this position should have been.
Well, there are a number of criteria. I think, of course, the basic criteria would be integrity, honesty, and those good principles. But foremost, I think one would expect the person that would lead the South African Police Service, or any police organization for that matter, would be someone who knows and understands the police service, who knows and understands the culture of the police. And then secondly, who knows and understands the principles of policing, or policing as a science, if you want. So I miss this, of course, in the new appointee. So those are the basics, I think, and of course we can expand on all of those.
All right, let's do that. Let's just go back again to this issue of understanding the culture, the principles and the policies and so on, and look at the previous two, particularly perhaps Bheki Cele. In releasing him, President Jacob Zuma did not talk about his understanding of the culture, but spoke about his inability to deal with the administrative element, which therefore means that perhaps what you needed is somebody who has the ability to administrate.
Yeah, but you see, this is precisely what happens with any young police officer who grows through the ranks. If he or she has the necessary talent and the necessary qualities, they will grow through the ranks, and at every level they learn new new management principles, such as managing a unit, for example, at the lowest level, then become manager of a police station. And at that level, you are exposed to all kinds of management requirements, such as finances, personnel, logistics, and of course dealing with the fight against crime as the basic function of the police. And so you develop and you go through the ranks, and at every level you become more exposed. The experience you build becomes more intense. So by the time you reach the top levels of the police service, you are well qualified to serve at that level in that capacity.
All right, so you think that somebody should have been groomed from within? Because ostensibly some people are saying that this is a director general position, and therefore you need the capacity, the administration capacity. That's all you need. You don't have to have your head around the integrities or the nitty-gritties of policing.
Well, that's never going to work. I mean, if you look at the example, and I always cite this example in New York, we know that in the 90s, the New York police was in as big a mess as the South African Police Service is in at the moment. And Giuliani, when he became mayor of New York at that time, he did not appoint someone from the New York police at that time because of all the suspicion that existed about their own credibility. But he also did not bring in a civilian. He brought in Bratton, who was an experienced police officer from elsewhere. And he told them, you fix the police, I'll fix the city. In our case, we continue to appoint civilians just because there's this perception that senior police officers do not possess the necessary administrative skills. And I don't think that is accurate. I really don't think so.
Ms. Diane Kohler-Barnard, your reaction for me, please.
Well, we have to accept, and certainly the President did the right thing. Sacking Cele was absolutely the right thing to do. But he must understand and admit that Cele could not manage his way out of a paper packet. We have a disastrous legacy left by him. We're talking about maladministration, irregular expenditure of 76-odd million rand or more, those ridiculous national police days. They're still under investigation. 12 million rand paid for performing artists on one of those events. Huge amounts of money that just went down the drain. There was the Section 35. He was dishing out fat pensions to top SAPS members, some of whom are under criminal investigation. Of course, we had Mzili Kaziwa, Africa Sunday Times journalist, arrested, and the raid on the Public Protector's Office. This is not a legacy that I think anyone should be proud of. So he's done the right thing. He's got rid of the man, although his accolades heaped on the man actually at one stage had me thinking, but he's going to keep him on. I guess he was aiming towards that elective Congress. He knows full well Bheki Cele is the second most popular politician in KZN after himself. So getting rid of Cele was the right thing to do. But again, I have begged them, appoint from within, appoint someone who understands the police culture, what a ranked structure is about. This is not a DG position. It is not. This is someone who's going to now go from civilian to general overnight, put on a uniform, and now say, well, look, you have to salute me and respect me. Now, I know her credentials are extraordinary. She has a fine management background, and that's wonderful. You know, a wealth of experience is going into the top brass of the SAPS. That can't be a wrong thing.
Yeah.
But not being a career police officer speaks to not understanding the rank structure, zero experience in operational and strategic environments.
But
huge
let me ask you
difficulties
this.
await her.
But let me ask you this, because again, you start off by talking about Bheki Cele's weaknesses, but none of those weaknesses refer to his inability to understand the workings of the police. They are all about administration, his ability to deal with money, his ability, as you point out, the issues around money and where money was spent. So, which means that that may not be a problem, understanding the workings of the police. The issue is, can you deal with the finances, and can you be an accountable accounting officer?
Now, I must remind you that it was Bheki Cele who decided to remilitarize the police. And this is why people now call it the police force when actually it's the South African Police Service. This is why we have increased brutality on every news bulletin that we watch on television,
but on the other hand,
we're looking at police brutality.
But on the other hand, we're talking about crime stats. But we're talking about crime stats that have gone down on the other hand.
Yes, well, thank FIFA World Cup for that. You know, massive visible policing. And the moment Sepp Blatter set foot on that plane and left, where were the cops who were everywhere, on every street corner? They were out there to protect the foreigners visiting this country, so that, heaven forfend, we should have any foreigner and foreign soccer fan damaged in South Africa. And the minute Sepp Blatter left, the SAPS members retreated back into their offices, and it was business as usual.
So you're saying it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with a police strategy.
Well, I would like to think it did, but I'm very skeptical. I will await the new police statistics when they come out next month.
I'm going to go back to Dr. Berger in a second about that, but let me bring in my political analyst here, Dr. Ralinara. Are you reading any political moves in this appointment of a new police commissioner?
Yeah, definitely there are political moves, Kolani, because I'm very sure that the reason why the president really opted for somebody from outside the police force altogether, it might have to do with the current affairs that we have been observing for quite a while within the police force. And in that regard, probably he felt that he needed somebody who will come and stabilize the police force from outside, without, irrespective of whether that particular person has got the experience or not. But as for whether that particular candidate will be able to command the necessary respect within the police force and will have the necessary expertise to run it, definitely that remains to be seen, because you see, in this position, you find that, and this is where the argument that it's like a director general's position comes from, that you have got maybe 5 or 6 divisional commissioners under that particular person who are responsible for various units within the police force. And these are people that are supposed to be specialized in their own areas. And then you need somebody who is an anchor accounting officer here, who pulls everything together and gives strategic direction to the police as an institution. And in that regard, the current appointee does have the strategic direction experience. However, it lacks the South African police expertise flavor. So, and I think that is where...
But the question is, can you have both? Can you have both that kind of strategic direction and the ability to manage in that sense, and also have the experience within the SAPS?
Kolani, you can have that, especially as my previous colleague was saying. You can have both experiences, somebody who grew up within the ranks for quite a while, who was groomed throughout the ranks, and that particular person can simply acquire that particular experience, and also that should be coupled with the training that that particular person will be exposed to. But now the issue is whether the South African police force does have that kind of person as it stands. I will argue, yes, it does. But I think the current political turbulences that were taking place involving the police might have forced the president to go and look for somebody outside, because then it will be another scandal from another scandal if you were to get somebody from inside, because these are people that have been working together for quite a while. You are likely going to find that they've got debt on each other, and in that regard, whether you want to continue on that train as a country, definitely at some point you must say no.
All right. And that's the point, though, isn't it, Dr. Berger? Because and we've heard this in the media over the past couple of weeks. Even the acting National Police Commissioner, General Dlamini, is saying there are people who are conspiring against management and so on. We've heard the same from General Mdluli, that other people, including Mzwandile Petros and others, are conspiring against him. The environment within the SAPS is so poisoned, perhaps, that it would have been difficult to pick out a head.
But, I think what we saw in the last few months with Mkhwanazi is not only was he standing up against the criminal elements within the police service, but also against political interference that stopped investigations into those criminal elements. And in the process, we saw also that he enjoyed the support of the genuine professional police members that are still there. And I think the sort of accusations about conspiracies and divisions were those caused by those who were under investigation for corruption. So there was this split in the police, but it was the split between the good and the bad. And the problem for the good was that they were stopped from investigating the bad. So that was the only split. I think if we could sort out that problem, the good would come to the fore and they would be able to manage their affairs much, much more efficiently than they are currently being allowed to.
All right, I'll open the lines here, by the way, on 0891 104 208, 0891 104 208. You wanted to comment about that, Ms. Diane Kolobana,
particularly one must remember that the current situation happened on Bheki Cele's watch. The issue with Mdluli, who's been bounced in and out of his position so fast, really the slush fund is spinning. 6 times, I think, he's been in and out of his job in the last how many months. That happened on Bheki Cele's watch. So he must have known what was going on. He must have known that people were looting the slush fund. He must have known. I know personally that he has taken advantage of the situation where he has appointed relatives. He has boosted the career of his father-in-law shortly after his wedding. He has made use of his position. He was from outside. Now, he knew this was going on, so it's difficult to understand how one can give credence to the suggestion that pulling someone in from the outside, yes, they were not involved with the entire debacle that is SAPS today, but will it make it better? It hasn't previously. Although, of course, this woman is not a career politician, so that is a huge benefit. It's the first time we've seen this. I don't give credence to people being a man or a woman. It's irrelevant to me. If they do the job, they do the job. Look, it's a welcome departure from her predecessors.